All right, so 33 guys that are not in yet. You got less than a minute. These are NFHS rules questions. There are 15 of them. I believe you get, I think it's like 25 seconds, 30 seconds, something. I forget exactly what the number is. But yeah, just it'll give a leaderboard after every question. It's just like if you've ever been at Buffalo Wild Wings and saw the trivia that you can do on the screen by the bar. This is pretty similar version to that, same concept. So all right, it is 7:11. We are going to get started. If you're still trying to get in, you can join late on here, but we're going to start here. We're not going to play the crazy music. There's a real annoying music as the game goes on, but we're going to start the game here right now. I'm going to hit start. All right, here we go. You're going to have to read the question yourself. Lock in your answer as soon as you got it. Got 5 seconds. Oop. Let's go back. I was too slow there. All right. Where's the, I don't see where the question is. So I'll pause it before we get back next time. So next question, here we go. Lock in your answer. You got 12 seconds. It should give you the right answer on the screen, but we'll talk about each question before we go to the next one. All right, so an appeal on the last play of the game may be made by the defense. Okay, the correct answer is while the umpires are still on the field of play. So A is the correct answer on this one. All right, next question's coming up. Oh, so Kevin is in the lead. Remember, the winner gets a $25 gift card. 2 purchase officials.
Do you get the points or does Rafi?
I'm just gonna buy the gift card at the clinic on Sunday. All right, so before the game, Carter's listed as the pitcher DH for the game. The coach wants to bring Jones as the pitcher, but leave Carter in the DH role. The correct answer is C, or the green box. Pitcher DH is allowed and this change is permissible, but Carter may not return to be the pitcher. Let's see what the leaderboard looks like now. All right, Bill Vincent is in the lead.
I didn't even answer the first question.
That's why you're in 5th place, and you're gonna probably not get the gift card, Rafi. All right, true or false question here for you.
Or the points.
You got to get a question right to get a point, Tim. All right, so it would be a balk if the pitcher, after having his entire non-pivot foot pass behind the perpendicular plane of the back edge of the pitcher's plate, attempted to pick off with the runner at first. So this is the lefty kicks his leg up, and how far back can he take his foot before he has to throw home? And the answer is if he breaks the plane of the back edge or completely crosses the back edge of the pitcher's plate, if his foot breaks that or goes all the way through that plane, entire foot, he has to throw home, and that's when he can't go over to first. All right, we'll see who is in the lead here. All right, Kevin is in the lead now. Don't see Rafi anywhere yet. All right, next question. All right, so ground rules cannot supersede or conflict with the rule book. And what else? So the answer is the umpires formulate the ground rules, and both coaches must agree to the proposed ground rules. So that is the A and B answer. So 13 guys got it right. We'll see what the leaderboard looks like. All right, Kevin's still in the lead. All right, so the first batter of the game enters the box with an illegal bat. The penalty is the batter is out and the head coach is restricted to the dugout. And so 11, just under half of you guys got that one right. All right, Wayne got the fastest. And Kevin's starting to run away with it. Next question. Right, delayed dead ball. Yeah, the answer is all the above. So delayed ball when a runner with the ball is in play, attempts to steal second, deliberately removed his helmet. A fair batted ball touches an illegal glove. The umpire interferes with the catcher who is attempting the throw. So all those answers are right. So just over half got it right on that one. All right, we'll see who's in the lead here. Oh, Kevin's still in the lead, but Wayne's closing in. You got to read faster. You're gonna run out of time. All right, so when a runner from second attempting to advance to third base, the batted ball gets by the third baseman who who is playing in to defend a possible bunt and contacts a runner. The shortstop is not in a position to make a play on the ball. So this is where the ball isn't live and in play because it gets past the protective fielder, the fielder with the ability to field the ball. So then if the ball hits the runner, then it's okay, it's still live in play. Just same with this would be the same with the ball, same situation. The ball hits an umpire. The ball is past the infielder, so it's not a dead ball. All right. Halfway through. We'll see what the leaderboard looks like. I don't see Rafi's name anymore. Kevin is still way out in the lead.
Sorry, I had to drop out. I got to answer some emails.
Likely story. All right, so the ball is dead immediately, and the batter is out when all the above on this one. So he bunts He bunts the ball fair and his knee is touching the ground completely outside the lines of the batter's box. He hits the ball foul with the foot on the ground completely outside the batter's box. He hits the ball fair with part of his foot touching home plates and part touching the line of the batter's box. So that one, that's unique to high school or Fed rules. You cannot be touching home plates when you make contact with the ball. So that's the entire foot out of the box or touching home plates. Okay. That's just one difference that's a difference in the rules there. Most of you guys got that one right. All right, Nick was the fastest. Kevin is still out in front. All right, the improper batter becomes the proper batter. The results of this time of bat are illegal when no appeal is made and all the above. So an illegal pitch has occurred, an intentional base on balls was granted, or a legal pitch was delivered to the next batter. So it's a pitch or play is the verbiage a lot of times when you explain it. Even though the batter's they're batting out of order, they have the proper batter there. He becomes the proper batter once a pitch or play is made on a runner, or a pitch is made to the next batter in the lineup. So that's when, if you ever get a batting out of order situation that's gone on for a little while, multiple batters, that weren't in the right order, you have to go back and run it through this kind of means test, right? So who's up in who's the last batter, right? And has a pitch been thrown to this batter? That's what you got to think through those things. If no pitch has been made, then you got to figure out who the proper batter should have been, right? Then you got to go back and kind of walk through. And it's hard, it's confusing when we try to look at it just on a rules test, right? And Abel and Baker and Joe, and they got all the names in alphabetical order and all that stuff. It's hard to keep track of it then with when it's on a rules test. When this happens in a game, you're going to have no idea what's going on until the situation is presented to you, and then you got to unravel everything. So I suggest, if you ever have this, to always get with your partner so you can try to talk through and try to kind of piece it back together. But they don't happen a lot, but when they do, it can be tough to actually replay and figure out what was actually supposed to happen on the play. All right. Got 4 more questions here. All right, getting close to the top there. We got 3 guys running away with it. I threw this one in there. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. What a coach is allowed to have in his possession in the coach's box. Okay, the answer is A in this one. He may have a stopwatch, a hard copy of the rule book, and a scorebook. The other ones, so the blue the tablet computer, okay, that throws that out, makes that illegal. It doesn't talk about just the electronic equipment, because the stopwatch can be considered electronic equipment. And then the smartphone with the rule book and the scorekeeping capability is not allowed in the coaching box. 8 guys get that one right. We'll see who's in the lead here. Kevin's still hanging on. Wayne is closing in though. All right, so if a pitcher is replaced as the pitcher and his coach wants to move him to a different defensive position, but his replacement requires more warm-up throws than is permitted, and the answer is C. He may remain in the game but cannot return to pitch. So we got 10, just over half the guy, or exactly half the guys got it right. It's like a lot of you gave up. Must have a lot of emails like Ravi. All right, let's see who is in the lead. We got somebody over 300. Ooh, 8 points separate the leaders. We get 3 more questions. Right, there was a lot of reading on that one. But so Jones, while advancing from first to third, fails to touch second base and is standing on third when the throw from the outfield goes in the dugout. Okay, so Jones cannot legally return to his missed base and is subject to being declared out upon proper and successful appeal. So if you're on, if you've passed a base beyond the one that you missed, and the ball becomes dead, then you cannot, or the ball goes out of play, you cannot fix your mistake. So he cannot legally return. You still, as an umpire, you don't acknowledge that he missed the base, because that's not your job. They have to appeal it. So you would still award, he was past second base, he acquired second base, the throw from the outfield goes into the dugout. So then you would award Jones home plate on this. And then if the defensive team appeals the missed base, then you will call the runner out. Otherwise, you just let the run score if there's no appeal. This is one where, like, one year I counted how many missed bases I saw that weren't appealed, and I stopped at like 25, because a lot of times nobody's watching, nobody's paying attention. So be ready, don't give it away that they missed, but be ready for the appeal and who has the appeal call on the play. All right, we'll see who's in the lead now. Kevin's still hanging on. The top guys missed that one. All right, 2 more questions. All right, so bases are loaded, 1 out. B5 hits a line drive to right field, the right field fence. R3 and R2 both score, but R1 is thrown out at home. B5 safely arrives at third, but missed first base. The defense properly appeals B5's missing first base. Okay, correct answer is no run score. If the third out is a force out, then no runners can score on the play.
Doesn't make it 2 outs.
What's that?
With bases loaded and 1 out.
Base loaded, 1 out. R1 is thrown out at home, so that's out number 2.
Okay.
And then the force play at first becomes the
Okay.
third out. So then no runs would score on that play. Now, if this happened in a different order, right? If there is R1 didn't miss, or batter runner didn't miss first,
Yep.
but R1 missed, R2 missed third, then you would get it. You would get a different. So then you'd have the runners would still score, but because that third out was a force out at first base, then no run score on the play. So we got 2 guys got that one. Let's see, we got 1 more question here. All right, so Kevin, we got four guys in chance to win this one. This should be an easy one for you. All right, so umpire jurisdiction begins when the umpires arrive in the confines of the field. So as soon as you walk in the fence, then you're in charge. So 19 guys got that one right. We'll see what the final standings are. All right, Boo is third place, Chad second, Kevin the wire to wire winner. So Kevin, send me an email, and then I will make sure you get a gift card. Kevin, are you going to be at the clinic on Saturday?
Most likely not, but I will try.
Okay, if you're not going to be there, send me an email and I'll get the gift card sent to you. All right, there's a little dip in the technology here. We're going to switch gears now. And I'm gonna share a different screen here. All right, so Terry had a question in the chat. What about playing conditions before the game starts? That is up to the home team if the field's ready to play before the game starts. But once you say play, and then it's your call. Okay. That call, so under 99% of the scenarios you're going to see, that is a conversational discussion decision on when the field is ready, is playable or not. Okay, you can go down the field and talk through, that ultimately the home coach has the final say before the game starts. But even after the game starts, talk to the pitcher, talk with the catcher, get more information in there. Really, you're going to be able to go until the pitcher can't pitch anymore. That's usually what kills it, unless you get puddles and stuff on the infield. But usually the mound goes first, then that's what usually causes the game to stop. But don't just say, nope, it's my call. I'm just gonna say no, we're not gonna play. Just be courteous, right? This is what we talked about in previous weeks. Courteous, talk with people, talk with your partner, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Usually those decisions are pretty easy to make. The same kind of thought process goes into if you're going to call it for darkness or not. That is, calling the game for darkness is one of the hardest things to do. Just because it's just hard. It's hard because there's pressures, there's some outside pressures from the game situation happening, especially if it's a close game, or if you're not going to finish the inning, and there's a lot of those things in there. But ultimately, if the participants can't safely play the game anymore because they can't see, right, that's when you're going to know when to call it. So, like I say, it's tough, but I would just don't give an ultimatum. Don't say, hey, we're going to play one more inning and then we're going to call it. Don't back yourself into a corner like that. When the darkness is coming, just say, if they ask, it's like, we're going to stop when it's not safe. And once you get to the point where it's not safe, doesn't matter where it's at in the game, just call it there. You'll see it's really when the fielders can't react to the ball or have a delayed reaction to the ball, then it's time to call the game. But it's 20 years of this, and it's still tough to make that call because everywhere's different. Because I've had it where it's really cloudy and dark, and we call the game, and then you get to the parking lot and the cloud's clear and it's sunny out, and you could have played another 20 minutes. So, but when you make the call, there's no turning back. Just say, this game, game's over, because of darkness, and then get out of Dodge. All right, so I'm going to share my other screen.
If I could ask a question,
Sure, go ahead, Dale.
going back to the pitcher, why would the pitcher not be allowed to return? Because of the excess pitches from the other pitcher?
Yep.
It's all?
Yep.
But under normal, what happened? What? Oh, there we go. Under
Yep.
normal circumstances, he would be able to return, except for the pitcher taking too long, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's the additional warm-up pitches that keep him from coming back in the game. If his replacement only takes 8, then he can come back. But if the replacement takes more than 8, then he can't. It's to stop. That rule is more there to stop them from saying, "Hey, my pitcher's injured." When they don't have a guy ready to go, ready to come in out of the bullpen, then he gets all day to warm up, and then miraculous, my injury's gone. I want to bring my starter back in. So that's the reasoning, or the reason that rule is there, to stop some of that gamesmanship from the coaches. So all right, so we're going to go through some video case plays. This is going to be similar. This was my presentation from the Belvedere Clinic, and then I'm going to polish this up a little bit before the clinic on Saturday. But just some plays in here. I'll show the play a couple times, then we'll have some discussion on it as we go. So I'm gonna start up. So some of it is choppy, depends on the internet on your end and my end. But I will try to. I'm going to grab the links and put them in the chat if I can find the chat. Hold on, let me get set up here. So I'll put it in the chats in case you want to go find it or watch it on a different device here. All right, here we go. Get behind 2-1, right back with another breaking ball. This is an umpire interaction with the dugout. So this one you got to try to listen. I don't know how well the sound comes through. You can hear the umpire address the dugout. He says it's not up. We got a warning of balls and strikes coming from the Texas dugout. Going to which? Tell me that was too low marking a little bit. All right, so in this situation, you have an assistant coach. You can put the answers to this in the chat or unmute your microphone. You have an assistant coach in the dugout, or just non-head coach, somebody else yelling from the dugout. You're questioning the strike zone from the dugout. Okay, what are your steps? What do you do in this situation? How do you handle it? Nobody? All right, so we have given assistant coach a warning. Okay, you're gonna give the warning to the assistant coach, or are you gonna give the warning to the bench? You're gonna give the warning to the head coach. How are you gonna handle that? And what's your interaction gonna be? Okay, Bill? Okay, ignore. So we're gonna assume in this, warn the head coach, he needs to stop the assistant coach, ignore, yep. So yeah, so use your steps, right? So so if you ignore, so we're gonna assume you ignored it and now it's going. So your acknowledgement, right, is gonna be, hey, knock it off. Like, I'm gonna look, mask's gonna be off, I'm gonna look at that person and say, hey, knock it off, right? And then I'm gonna go talk to the head coach, who probably in this situation is in the third base dugout. Say, hey, Jim, I'm not gonna talk balls and strikes. That's your, that's a warning. You don't have to give the official warning to, but say, hey, we're not gonna talk balls and strikes. We're not gonna have we're not gonna have anybody, and you're not gonna talk about balls and strikes today, right? So this NCAA, they have they have a different warning system than we do in FHS. So they gave an official warning, but that doesn't come with a dugout restriction like it does in high school. So this is a longer situation. So we're going to go, we're going to move on in this video to the next interaction.
He's fighting for his guys early. I talked with some folks in the Texas program. He was very motivated after their performance 2 nights ago and challenging guys that they've got to have better at bats in this game. And now he's going to put the mask on to make sure you can't hear him. Definitely can't see where it's coming from. That's right. Getting on the edge, Hodo caught looking. That is large right there. And he did it with another breaking ball. So he gave him the fastball 2-2. That was 98. He missed just down. And like he did 3 different times, Tidwell in this at bat, he was able to land that breaking ball in even fastball counts as well. Be athletic for his size. And then you got Peter K, who's the hottest hitter in this Tennessee order, bat 400 in the postseason. But you can just tell.
All right, just to show he's consistent, he's giving a warning to the other dugout now about balls and strikes as well. I don't think they actually show.
Yeah, and so you're gone. That's it. Strikes. I think look at your ball, right? Leave them alone. Unless it gets just terrible, just leave them alone. We've already had a warning for each pitcher all time. We haven't seen many of those, and now we got a warning to each dugout already. So for me, it's just back off and let them play the game. Yeah, pitch clock warnings for both pitchers. We don't see that very often during the season. Matter of fact, I don't know that I've seen one. There he goes. Great jump, swing and a miss. Throw to second is wide. Another storm base.
All right, what do you got there? We'll play that one more time.
There he goes. Great jump, swing and a miss. Throw to second is wide. Another stolen base for Texas.
All right, you got anything on that play? We'll play one more time for you.
There he goes. Great jump, swing and a miss. Throw to second is wide. Another stolen base for Texas.
All right, we've got a couple batter interference. What about that play makes you say it's batter interference?
It appeared he stepped into the path of the catcher to prevent him from throwing.
Okay. I think it shows another replay here. So we got lean over the plate and step into the path. I think it's right here. Try to pause it. All right, so right there. Okay. So this is where you got to decide, right? Does this batter, okay, I'm looking at it, it looks like he's out of the batter's box, right? Towards home plate or right on the line, really close to it. Catcher is stepping straight through the plate to throw to second, right? Does that batter's positioning there warrant interference? Is ultimately what you got to decide, right? So there doesn't have to be contact, okay, but contact makes it easier to call, right? So ultimately you got to decide, did this interaction between the two, which there is no contact, it looked like, warrants batter interference, right? So there's no hard and fast rule on where he's at. It's just ultimately, did he interfere with the catcher's ability to retire the runner at second or throw out the runner at second? So it's really close, right? So I would lean towards probably not on this because he still has the ability to throw through, but I can be convinced the other way, right? So the guys that do have batter interference, okay, what is the proper way to make this call? How do you make this call in live time saying that there's interference there? And who's out, I guess, too.
The way dead ball and let the plate play out, the batter is out and runner returns to first.
Yep. So when there's batter interference, the batter is out because he's the one that interfered. The only time that is not true is if it's strike three on the batter. Okay, then the runner would be out on the play. But yeah, you say that's interference, and you let the play out. The initial throw has to retire the runner. So in this, you have a steal a second, the ball gets past the shortstop covering the base, goes out in the outfield. That's when you would kill it, call time. Then you send the runner back to first, call the batter out. Okay. Don't let the circus come to town and multiple throws go and the runners run, circling the bases. The initial throw from the catcher has to retire the runner. And if that does not happen, then you kill it and call the outs and send the runner back.
Refresh me on this. If the runner is thrown out, can it be a double play then?
If the runner is thrown out, no. If it's not strike three, the runner is out, then you ignore the interference.
And my other question, Alan, can either umpire call this then? Because the home plate umpire may not always have the best view.
No, this is the plate umpire's call. And he's got the best perspective on if it was interference or not, because just being in the proximity of it. Might be blocked out, whatever, but base guy never makes this call. It's not his job, not his call. This is not one to get help with either. Like you either played guy, either you get it or you didn't, and you live with your call.
Hey, Alan, does the right foot of the batter have anything to do with where he's at? I mean, he's outside of the batter's box there. Is that?
Yeah, so it does. It's part of the evidence that you have to make the call, right? So his foot being out of the box alone does not make it interference, but it is something that you consider when you're trying to decide if it was interference or not. So like this play is close, but if this pitch was over the batter's box line on the other side of the plate and the catcher's way out, okay, that batter could be standing on a home plate and be fine because he's not interfering with the catcher's ability to throw, because the catcher has to bounce out, catch that ball, then go.
Makes sense. Understood. Thank you.
Yep. And then the one, I think that actually Jeff's comment is actually going to come up in a different play. So we'll get to that when we get there. Okay. I don't know if there's any more in this. And just Tennessee being a bunch of idiots. We'll go on to the next one. All right. Put the link in the chat. Nothing ever good happens when Notre Dame's involved.
Staff
So.
that has an ERA which is 7th best in the country. Fourth in the country in strikeouts per 9 innings pitched, 10th in WHIP. And the bullpen, a major player in all of those numbers. Woodward's got to be careful. Tony Vitello check it, and somebody's going to toss. Frank Anderson's all the way out of the dugout. You can't do that. I'm sorry, you cannot. And Frank Anderson just got ejected. I think he just got thrown out twice. You can't do that, man. I don't care.
All right, we'll watch it again. Actually, we'll go, let's fast forward up. They show a replay, I think. Yep. So there's the interaction. The first person to get thrown out was the batter in this situation. And then it was the assistant coach.
But guys show up, especially if they're not in the SEC and they haven't had Tennessee over the course of the year. They've seen all the stuff on Twitter. They've heard about it. Yeah, it's boisterous sometimes. Man, this is a quick hook. Well, that's maybe a little aggressive right now for Gilbert. I'll tell you that. I thought he.
All right, so lip readers of the world.
Man, this is a quick hook. Well, that's maybe a little aggressive right now for Gilbert. I'll tell you that. Well,
I've watched this a few times. I think he said, that was fucking terrible. You're fucking horrible. Okay. So that the first one you can let go, like aggressive profanity towards you, depends on your threshold for taking that. But the first one wasn't directed at you, it was directed at the call. Second one was directed at the umpire. So that's why he was ejected in this situation. So, and then he's surprised because
that's maybe a little aggressive right now for Gilbert.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. I thought he threw out Frank Anderson. What Gilbert?
Okay, so then after that happens, right, the rest of it is easier. We're gonna look at kind of what how the crew handled this,
Frank
right?
Anderson's all the way out of the dugout. You can't.
All right, so crew chief comes in. This is the college, it's a regional. So this guy is the designated crew chief for the crew. So he's coming in to help clean up, probably try to get the batter out of there if the batter decides to go in. But we have an assistant coach leaving the dugout to argue to a call. Okay, that's an easy. He's ejected. No questions asked. No warning. No nothing. Him coming out arguing and yelling like that. He is gone right away. Okay, the head coach can come out. You can give him an explanation. That's fine. Okay, but assistant coach does not get that ability. You'll see some assistant coaches that do this. They think they're a co-head coach. They're not allowed to do that. They don't get that right. In this situation, okay, high school rules, if the assistant coach leaves his position to argue a call, which happened here, okay, the head coach is also restricted to the dugout. So he's ejected. The head coach is restricted. Okay, he is responsible for the actions of his assistant coaches. Okay. So that's a rule caveat. That's not in NCAA, but it is in high school. But this is perfect as well. You can see. So the home plate umpire disengages, right? So he's not the home plate umpire does not engage with the batter. Okay. He goes to the other side. He's letting the head coach come to him, right? He's not gonna get his crew chief cuts him off because I think he's cutting the batter off, and the head coach stops there. But the plate umpire could interact with could engage with the head coach on this play. Crew chief cut him off. They have different dynamics in college baseball, but high school wise, my job is if my partner's working the plate, I'm on the bases, is to get the batter out of there and the assistant coach out of there, and let the calling umpire deal with the head coach in this situation. But you don't if you get later in the video, you can see the whole crew's down there. Okay, just monitoring the dugout. Okay, make sure nobody else is in there. Make sure it's calm. We're calming the situation down. Okay. Just to make sure they're one-on-one conversations and you're not getting teamed up on in a situation. Okay. You don't see that too much where it's a whole coaching staff arguing every call, every close call, or every, getting involved in those kind of things. Most coaching staffs are two guys or maybe three, and the head coach is there. He's the one doing everything. But you will run into some teams that the assistants want to be part of their part of those conversations, which they're not allowed to. If players, if the players are leaving the dugout to come argue, then they're gone too. All right. Any other questions on this one? The only Esteban, the only thing is, though, if the player leaves the dugout to argue the call, the head coach is not restricted because of that. Only the assistant coach. If the assistant coach comes out to argue the call, then the assistant coach can be restricted or ejected, and the head coach is restricted and could be ejected too, based on if it's bad enough with the assistant coach. All right, we'll grab this one. All right, so MLB play on this one.
Next to a 3-run home run by Nick Castellanos. And here's a ball down the third baseline. And it's a good one. The throw is going to be up. Yelich will stop right where he's at. Excited to see if he made a move. And he did. Wow. John Lake confirmed over the Brewers. Thanks to a 3-run home run by Nick Castellanos. And here's a ball down the third baseline. And it's a good one. The throw is going to be up. Yelich will stop right where he's at. Excited to see if he made a move. And he did.
All right, so what do you got? So I'll make a question. Did the batter make an attempt or feign an attempt to second base? On this?
Absolutely, he did. 100%.
All right, we'll watch it one more time. All right, so make sure when you're so if you did have an attempt to second, make sure you are using the verbiage with the coach that he made an attempt or he feigned an attempt to second base. Don't talk about a turn, because turn gets messy, right? The runner is allowed to go down, run past, and then go back to the base, right? It doesn't matter which way he turns his shoulders. I know you'll hear coaches yell, hey, move towards go into foul territory, right? But that doesn't matter, right? They teach them that because there's a less chance it looks like they made a attempt to second base, right? So all you need here, it's hard. This video is not the best quality, but you see him turn his hips and take a step, right? That's an attempt to second base, or even a feinted attempt to second base. But when your coach comes to you, say he made an attempt to go to second, that's why he was out. Don't get caught up in he made a turn, because then the coach will go, well, he's allowed to turn that way. Like that, it's one of those where you use a rule book terminology, and then then it's easier to explain. You don't get caught up in the semantics of how you're explaining it. Just use the rule book terminology on that one. Okay, that's an easy one, but it's something you got to watch. On that one, you could say feigning an attempt, but he made an attempt. Like this one's an attempt, or feigning an attempt, because either one is puts a runner at peril being called out. So on this, you see on this play, this is the first base umpire's call, right? You have to watch for it, right? So as the base umpire, nobody on, okay, you're going to be making that call. If that ball gets away, your first reaction is to bust into the infield, right? Which, if you're busting it into the infield, your back is to the runner, right? So you see the base umpire here. Once that throw gets away, he turns chest to the ball, and he's able to see the runner make that attempt, right? So make sure you're watching for that. and not just giving up and running to the infield, and then you don't see what's going on behind. So follow the ball. You're still going to have to start moving, but make sure you're watching to see that possibility of that going. Yes, he has another umpire. We're talking about two-man mechanics. Okay, unless there's no he gets to stay there, right? But we don't. So we still have, if that play goes in the second, then it's a first base umpire to get there. But you still have this call too. So this is a kind of a dual responsibility. Don't forget about this half of the play, while trying to get ahead of the other side. All right.
Hey, Alan.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Kevin Alexander asked a good question. I answered him in the text, but it might be good for the group.
I did not see his question.
Kevin's question was, as an umpire, you ignore it if the defense does not tag him, correct?
Yeah.
So it kind of lends itself to, you don't want to draw attention to it. Your job as an umpire is not to call it until it's appealed.
It is an appeal play. So yes, you don't have to give it away, or don't want to give it away on that play. All right, so this is a play. This next one is a play around second base.
Boxing ball to first, backhand Hoskins. Over the second for one. Back to first. Out today. Boxing ball to first, backhand Hoskins. Over the second for one. Back to first. Out today. Gone. So the second base. There's the pitcher.
See if we get another angle here.
Look at the slide. See where he comes in on the slide, or actually standing straight up, and that's what's stopped.
All right, so what do you got? The interaction at second base, what do you got? All right, so I think a majority of guys are saying interference. What did the runner do what part of the rule did the runner break on that play to make it interference? Well, coach is going to come out to you. How you're going to explain this to him? All right, so I'm saying ran in the grass to get in the way. Did not stay in the line. Okay, so force play slide rules. Yeah, this is the rule. All right, so what is the runner allowed to do on this play? Like what are the things the runner's allowed to do on this play to not cause interference? Like what are the requirements of him? Okay, so one thing he's allowed to do is slide, right? If he slides, it has to be a legal slide. It has to be directly into the base. It has nothing to do with his path. Okay, he's got to slide directly into the base. He is allowed to veer off. Okay, but you can't veer off into the path of the throw or where the runner is at, or where the fielder is at. So his veering in, okay, he's allowed to go in standing up. He doesn't have to slide, right? It looks like he is trying to veer away, right? 90% of the time you're veering in to get away, you turn, back towards the dugout, right? But because he veered in, now he's in the path of the first baseman or the shortstop in this play, and he causes interference there. So you explain, so the coach asks, hey, what did you have, right? Your runner interfered with interfered with the shortstop's throw because he ran into he ran into the runner's path to throw first base, right? So he interfered by doing that. His action caused the interference. How do you make this call? What are your mechanics going to be on this call when you call interference?
Calling the force play out at second first, and then after the ball is dead, then it's runner interference. The batter is out as well.
Okay, so close, right? So interference is immediate dead ball, right? So as soon as you see interference, right, it's time. That's interference. You point at the runner. You're R1, you're out. Then you point at the batter runner and say he's out. Okay. Don't let the play happen. Keep going. Right. The play, once that interference happens, everything stops. Right.
Got it.
Yeah, and then you call them out. So dead ball right away. It still can be interference if there's not a throw, right? If the interference causes the runner not to be able to throw, okay. A lot of times on the slide, you're going to see that the slide is out and takes the shortstop out, or it's not directly in, or they pop up into the fielder and they're not able to throw. Then you would call the force play slide rule without a throw, because the actions by the runner caused the fielder not to be able to throw the ball.
Well, that's his right foot on the grass. So yeah, he's going into his path, all right.
Yeah, this is pretty obvious interference. I think you played out. This is interference in pro ball now too. So, all right. Any other questions on that type of play? So Wayne. So if there's a runner on third on this play, or any other runners that aren't involved in this, and there's nobody out, all the runners return to their place at the time of the pitch. So if we had first and third on this play, R3 would not score, and they would go back to third base, and there'd be 2 outs. No runners can advance on interference. This type of
Oh, it was a 2-2 pitch.
Maybe we'll come back to this one. That's like rapid fire ejections there. I just Mitchell score on this. Come on. Get you fired up for that travel ball in the summer.
Swing your head, nice and tight. Head on the ball the whole time. There you go.
All right, so we take a little caveat here. Watching this umpire, this is why we don't push point where the pitch was, right? Their first reaction is like, oh, he's going to say strike, and then he doesn't do it, right? It looks like he's coming out of his stance to say strike, and all he does is raise his hand and say it's high. Just say ball. That's all they need.
There you go.
Come on. Jesus Christ.
Randy, you got it. Move. Can't go in the baseline, kid.
All right. Forgot it was all at the end there. So we do not, the ball does not hit the bat.
More. Can't go in the baseline, kid.
All right, we got one out in this play. And we have this play happen at home. What do you got?
The baseline, kid.
What do we got?
Can't go in the baseline, kid.
All right, so we got interference. Okay. Who is out on the interference on this play? We got one out coming up. All right, so we got a bunch of batters out. Mr. Linforth, who's out on this play?
Think about it as the most expensive penalty you can get right here. He's approaching home plate. You've got batter interference with less than 2 outs. So how can it get really expensive for the offense? I just gave you a big hint. How can it get expensive for the offense?
Not a double play. It's only you only get one out.
We're going to get one out. We're going to call the runner advancing towards home plate out on batter interference with less than 2 outs. If that R3 runner is approaching home and this interference prevents a play in the umpire's judgment on that batter approaching home plate, they're going to call the runner approaching home plate. The runner is called out in this situation and the batter remains. That's expensive.
Yep. This is the exception to the batter interference rule. So on this play, the only time that the runner is out first, like he's the first out you call on the play. It's still the rest of interference does apply. So R2 in this play the runner would go back to second base. You would have an out on the runner, R3 advancing, and then the pitch still counts. You keep the same count on the batter going forward. Again, less than 2 outs. If it is 2 outs and this happens, then you call the batter out. So this is just I haven't seen a video with this actually happening, but this is the so what's the thought process? The thought process on this is if so the batter knows that the runner is going to get put out, it's not going to be close, then he would interfere on purpose to sacrifice himself and save the runner at third base. So to prevent that, they penalize you harder if the batter interferes with the play on this. What rule supports this decision? It's the batter interference rule. That's how it's spelled out.
The runner goes back to second then, or does he stay at third?
No, he goes back to second. The only thing that changes on a runner advancing to home on a batter interference is that the runner's out. Everything else applies still. Everybody goes back to time of pitch. I'm not sure what the rules number is. I don't know if somebody could look it up. But it's spelled out in one of the exceptions in the batter interference rule.
735.
735.
So it doesn't have to be in the umpire's estimation that the R3 would have been out. Is that accurate?
No. So if you call interference on the batter, then the runner's out if the runner's advancing home. Try to play a scenario. So this backstop is a mile away, right? And this interaction happens with the pitcher and the batter. And when it happens and a kid slides across home plate, the ball is still at the backstop, right? Then it's not interference then. So it does come into play a little bit, right? Did he interfere with the possible play at the plate? No, because the catcher's still at the fence, hasn't even got to the ball yet. So there is scenarios where that does play into it. But if you do call batter interference, then the runner's out on it. So there's some subjectivity to actually calling the interference or not. Just like the batter interference with the throw it on the second. You still got to say, did the runner interfere with the possible possibility of the runner being retired? If it's going to be close at all, then you would call him out. You call the runner out. But if it's not close at all, then you would just let it go and just ignore it. Don't call the interference. Like that's you could say that's nothing, if you want, but just don't say it's interference.
Understood. Thank you.
Anything else on this play? All right. All right, next one. There's the link.
Tonight. It's 4-2.
All right, so why was that called a balk? What was it was the second base umpire making the call. What kind of balk do you think he called on this play? Might not agree with him, but what kind of balk does he have on here?
Didn't come set.
Okay. Yeah, so this is another one where if a coach is asking about a balk, right, you want to explain it. I think it's in 5 words or less, or maybe 3 words or less. I forget what this Bob Jenkins used to talk about that. So on this play, if a coach would ask, he didn't stop. So 3 words. Okay, no pause, and you get down to 2 words. But that's what he's calling on this. So if you watch it, I'll turn the volume down. If you watch, so the pitcher must come to a complete stop, right? So if you can see with his hand, with his glove, he's kind of shuffling his hand and then he goes, right? So the movement of him coming down, if he's still part of him is moving, right, including his glove, he's going in and out with his hand, he has to stop all of that. Okay, discernible stop with all of that before he goes. So if the first glance, it doesn't look close at all, but then you look, he's coming up, he's still flapping his hand. And then if he did pause, it's really, really, really small pause, right? So that is something, as you're watching players, they're going to do goofy stuff like that because they see it on TV and they see this weird stuff. Make sure that you get all of him stopping right before he goes. Otherwise, it is a balk. This call is harder, okay, when you're the base umpire on something real close like this. Because when he is set, right, the pitcher can still adjust the ball with his hand, right? The ball, hands are together. He's still able to do some of that. That's not a balk, right? Or he's set and then he still does, regrips the ball, something like that. So I would almost say, unless you're 100% sure behind, when you're on the bases making that call, that I wouldn't make that call, especially if it's close. If it's obvious, make the call. But it's harder to see because you're not getting the perspective of the batter, and you're not seeing the front side, the glove, real well because you have a different look than the batter and the catcher have at that. But you know that when it says a complete stop or discernible stop and it means everything has to stop. Okay. And just because everything stopped except for my hand twitching, doesn't mean I'm stopped. I have to stop, get a pause, and then go. Okay. That's all I wanted to show on that one. Any questions on that? Nope. All right. All right. So we're looking where we want to put the runner. All right. So we start with, we have a runner we got R1 to start the play. We got a base hit to the outfield. Where are we going to put this runner? We're going to put both the runners. The ball goes out of play. Okay, so where are you going to put R1 and where are you going to put the batter runner? All right, so the way you explain this, right? Okay, even though, so we have a throw from the outfield, you have two bases from the time of the throw, okay? Because it's not the first play in the infield. So right there, can't see the batter runner, but we're assuming he has not touched first base yet. And then throw goes, so even though it touches the third baseman, maybe touches the pitcher on the way by, it's two bases from the time of the throw because what caused that ball to go out of play was the throw from the outfielder. Okay. So R2 would score based on where that batter runner was when that throw was released. That's the base he's going to go to, right? So on this, you might get an argument that that batter runner should go to third base, right? Because he was already, he was already on the way to second when the ball went out of play, right? But the way you explain it, you explained it just with the rule book terms, right? Okay, the award to the coach, the award is two bases from the time of the throw. At the time of the throw, we had a runner at between second and third. He's awarded home plate. We had a runner but did not touch first base. He's awarded second, and that's how you explain it. Don't get, that's because there's a lot of this is the base he's going to +1, which would actually work on this play, right? Which is the hard part about that. That's why I think that myth never dies, is because it works sometimes, right? So if you say the base is going to +1, oh, hey, he's going to third base, he gets third base and home, that's what the award is, right? But don't get into that stuff, like just actually use the terminology from the rule book and that'll help you through this. Base awards they're tough, right? They don't come into play a lot once you move up the line, move up the ladder, because you get, when you work in the varsity team plays on the best field they have, right? The college teams, if you work those games, they have enclosed fields. Varsity, most of the time, has enclosed fields. So you don't get a lot of base running awards, or the ones you do are pretty simple, right? When you play on fields that don't have, the fence stops past the dugout, and every throw to first that the first baseman doesn't catch goes out of play, and you gotta award, or any throw at all that gets past a fielder goes out of play. You gotta know, you gotta be ready for that, right? And you gotta be ready to say, hey, this is where the runner's gonna go. Now, that's an easy one. So now change the scenario a little bit. This ball goes over towards the dugout, right? What if the ball sits here on the warning track, right? The pitcher that's backing up goes to pick it up and then fumbles it and it goes out of play. then how are we awarding bases? So on that, we have R1 is past third base, and then batter runner is touch second base at this point. Or there's on his way. Say he hasn't touched second base yet. The ball is sitting on the warning track and is kicked out of play or fumbled out of play. What is the award then? How many bases and where you would put the runners? We'll put it in the chat or unmute your mic. All right, so we have a little disagreement here. We have some people saying, we had a few people say one base. We had some, so that's all what is it, a one base or a two base award on this? If you open up the rule book, you know, the dead ball awards or the dead ball awards table, I think it's called, or base running awards table. Okay. It's is a two base award. The only time it is a one base award is when it's a pitch that goes out of play, right? So as soon as it's not a pitch that goes out of play anymore, they do get two bases. So that batter runner, it doesn't matter for R1 because he's already at third, he's going to score anyway. But that positioning of the batter runner makes a difference, right? Did he get the second base before the ball was kicked? Okay. So it'd be two bases from the time of the act that made the ball go out of play. So the contact with, you know, the ball on the warning track. So then it's two bases. So there's a real chance, there's a plausible chance that runner could score, the batter runner could score on this play. Because, you know, he might have had time to get to second. So like knowing where that runner is, this would be the base umpire would help with this one. Because in this scenario, the home plate umpire has the ball going in, or being in play or not in play. Okay, so be aware of that. It could be possibly a run. You know, it could be a little league home run on this play with the base running awards and him scoring. So be aware of that. But yeah, the only time it's a one base award is when a pitch goes out of play or gets stuck somewhere, or a throw from the rubber. I guess a pitch is not the right terminology there. A throw from the rubber goes out of play. So yeah, so pick off play at first. This is one where if you don't have a fence down the line where it can get you, if the runner doesn't disengage when he throws the pitcher doesn't engage and throws to a base or throws to first base or third base, and the ball goes out of play, then it's a one base award. If the pitcher disengages first, okay, he is no longer a pitcher. Okay, he's no longer throwing from the rubber. So he is a fielder. If he throws out of play, then it's a two base award. So if the pitcher, so it's hard to explain, to people, right? Because if the pitcher, left-handed pitcher, you know, steps up, kicks, and throws the first, you know, they'll say, well, he did disengage because he disengaged on his way off, but it's not a legal disengagement, right? The way it made sense to me, and I don't know if this makes sense to anybody else, but I always look at if the pitcher made the same move that he did and didn't throw the ball, would it have been a balk? So if the lefty pitcher kicks his leg up and steps towards first and doesn't throw, that's a balk, right? Because he's a pitcher and the pitching regulations still matter. If a right-handed pitcher does a jump turn, doesn't disengage, he does a jump turn and throws, you know, or didn't throw, then it would be a balk. So if he doesn't, actually, Siri just Googled the pitching regulations. The world's always listening to you. So yeah, so if there's a jump turn by right hand, they throw to first and goes out of play, it's a one base award. But if they do step off first, disengage, then it would be a two base award. And that could happen in, you know, one pitcher from team A's pitcher doesn't disengage when he throws, and team B's pitcher does disengage when he throws, then it's you could have two different rulings on a play that looks the same to everybody in the world. So you have to be able to explain that to the coach. Okay, your comment there, Lee, I forgot about that play. So as the plate umpire on this, you can help, you know, did he step off or did he not? So you don't get in the keep an eye on the pitcher when you're the plate umpire, and don't get in the habit of turning and looking at first base. Is none of that affects you over there, right? So if he makes a play, you say to yourself, did he step off? Did he not step off? Then you can be ready if the ball goes out of play. Does it get one base or does it get two? Jump step is not considered a legal disengagement. So they have to step back, has to be separate, step back and then throw to be a legal disengagement. All right. Hold on. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button there.
Game 6 of the World Series. Everything.
What you got? If they slow it down or not. All right, so you're looking at the batter. Did he do anything illegal that you would keep him in the box?
Looks to me like he put his arm over the plate, and I would call it strike and leave him in the box.
All right, so who's keeping him there? Who's sending him to first base? So keeping him there. Does he stick his elbow out? A couple guys said stuck his elbow out. Does he stick his elbow out? Or does he bring it back in? And does that matter to what your call is?
Well, if he's trying to avoid it, then he's okay, but I don't think he's trying to avoid it. I don't think he moves it at all.
Oh, he moves it. Just here.
If the batter does not try to get away and is hit by the pitch and you call him back, you're supposed to call it either as a ball or a strike, depending on what you think it is. Does that count? If he's got two strikes, could you strike him out if he doesn't attempt to, back away?
Yeah, so there's a lot so use a lot of different verbiage there, right? Remember, we got to work. So what's the rule book say that he has to do?
Well, the rule book says he doesn't get the base, but if he's got.
What does the rule book say about what the batter has to do on a pitch that's close to him?
Well, he's got to attempt to get, not be hit by the pitch.
So he has to make an attempt, right?
Correct.
Okay, he doesn't have to make every attempt, right? So so an attempt doesn't have to be much. It doesn't define what an attempt is, right?
Right.
So this one, he doesn't stick his elbow out, right? But does he intentionally move to get hit by the ball, right? And does that matter, right? That's ultimately what your call is on this, right? So the chicken wing, the elbows in and elbow sticks out, right? That pitch is not going to hit him anyway, right? If you have a 95-mile-an-hour fastball coming at your ribs, all right, are you going to kind of duck down and not want to get hit by the ball, right? So I mean, at first it looks, first glance, is he just trying to get he has his elbow out and he wants to get it out of the way, and then the pitch rides in and hits it, right? Those are all the things that you got to go with, right? And the only thing in the rulebook that has is a guidance to you is that the batter has to make an attempt to avoid being hit by a pitch, right? Okay, does he do that here, right?
I had
Okay.
a situation,
Oh, no, hold on. No, don't.
Okay,
Not
sorry.
story time. Not story time here. Okay. Not yet. We'll answer your question. But so ultimately on this play, it's your judgment, right? Did the batter make an attempt to avoid being hit by the pitch? Okay. After watching all that and looking, you only get one shot at it, right? To me, I'm sending him to first base. Okay. The ball is riding in on him. He's coming in and looks like he's making a protective move, right? So he actually closed down himself, right? So closing down on himself, that ball is in the batter's box, right? I'm not buying it. It's inside. You can see on this. So he makes an attempt to move. He doesn't have to make every attempt to get out of the way. He just has to make an attempt to get out of the way, right? This pitch is not where it's supposed to be. It's not in the strike zone, right? It's not. It's probably on the batter's box line, right? He's way inside, right? But on this play, I'm sending him to first base based on all those things, right? If it's the opposite, if he had his elbow in and then he stuck his elbow out, right? Then stay here, right? Call strike if it's in the strike zone. But watch it one more time here. Right here, where he starts, his elbow is in the strike zone. The ball is not in the strike zone. He is legally in the batter's box, right? His knee is over the line, probably over the top of the line. Okay. Watch so that pitch stays there, right? If he's out, right, and the ball hits him, that's illegal, right? He's in the strike zone, it's a strike. So he's got to get in and so he's getting in and turning away, okay, all day, send him to first base. Okay. The pitcher made a mistake. Don't award the pitcher for making a mistake. Okay. If you can argue that it should be keep him in the box, keep him in the box.
I'm just trying to hear it, that's all.
Okay. All right, Jay, go ahead with your question.
Well, my question was, had a situation where the batter actually stuck his elbow out in order to intentionally get hit. And I did not allow him to go to first base. But my question is, if he had like 1 and 2 on him and he stuck his elbow out and it, would have been called a strike, should I have called him out on strikes? Or
Yep.
it would be considered like a foul ball or something?
Nope. Strike.
Strike, so it could be strike 3 if he did it intentionally.
Yep.
Thank you, that's what I
Come to
wanted
the
to know.
clinic, ask Lino Novielli about that play.
Okay,
how that
thank you.
works. I saw a video somewhere about that play. All right, anything else on this one? So I think just kind of on these, take your time, take all the evidence into it, right? Plate umpire, this thing's gonna blow up on you, right? But look at what actually happened, what he's doing, where the ball is at, that all those things can be part of the evidence that you have to make the call, right? Now the controversial one, right, is the pitch, the kid throwing 75 miles an hour and it's a slow pitch and the batter just stands there and doesn't move and the ball hits him, right? What do you do on that one? Pitch is in the middle of the batter's box, hits him in the center of the back, or hits him on his left shoulder, but in the middle of the batter's box. Are you sending him to first, or are you keeping there because he didn't make an attempt? How are you handling that?
I'm sending him the first. He might have
I
thought it
would
was a
too.
break.
All right, but he didn't make an attempt to get out of the way. So doesn't the rule book say you have to make an attempt?
Yeah, but if he didn't know it was not gonna break.
No, there's nothing, Michael, there's nothing about in a box, and there's nothing, there's no curveball exemption from the rule. Right? Here's how you should handle that. Okay, this is not written down anywhere, but this is how I handle that situation. I think works well. Okay. It's the whole, he has to make an attempt, but not every attempt, right? And say, coach, I had a flinch. He flinched and froze and got hit, right? That's how I would sell it, and I would send him to the first base. Okay. Again, you can say, and he said, well, you didn't make an attempt. I said, well, I saw a flinch. He was, and that's all he needs, right? Get the ones where they're sticking appendages out to get hits, and keep the ones where the pitcher throws the ball in the middle of the batter's box. Don't reward the pitcher. That's where that's where the gray area in the rule comes in. But you do have some actual verbiage in there in the rule that you can use to on your side to be able to send them to first base.
Hey, Alan.
Yep.
Hey, are you doing a little proactive officiating in between innings and mentioning to the offensive coach, hey, coach, I need a move to avoid that ball so it doesn't come up later in the game?
Yeah, it depends on what it is, but yeah, that's I think Bill Vincent talked about it last week, it's or 2 weeks ago. It's those up there, and you make it look like you have a change, right? Pull the lineup card out and say, hey, whatever it is, like, hey, he's coming close to not stopping, or hey, he's doing it, like, just give him a heads up. You got to be careful, right? Because
it come the back to you, blow up on you later in the game, and going the other way.
And like, if I would do that, and a coach would say, hey, you're not supposed to help him out. The coach, I do the same thing for you, and be that. There are some preventative things you can do. They just got to be careful with it. Like sending I used to be a proponent of sending messages through the catcher to the pitcher, but you can't trust a teenager sometimes, right? Because whatever you say to the catcher, he's going to say to his coach, or you say, hey, Johnny, go out and tell your pitcher he needs his pause, and then he takes the mask off and say, hey, you got to pause, or no, I'm sorry, you have to pause, and then it bites you in the ass, right? As a base umpire, I might say something, right? Like we have a play and I'm walking by, it's like, hey, make sure you stop. Hey, make sure you pause. Or say to the shortstop, hey, tell him to pause, right? And those kind of things. There's times for it, but you just gotta pick and choose your spots, right?
Yep.
All right, so it's 8:45, so I'm gonna kill it there. If you want to see the rest of the videos, you got to come to Wheaton on Saturday. But good crowd again tonight. Thank you for all your questions and being interactive there. If you do, so next week is going to be the Part 1 rules test review. So this is the last regular session where I get to talk the whole time. Or I'll get to talk the whole time next week. But we're gonna come to the rules session next week and have your test completed. We will go through all 50 questions. I will, since it's hard to do this interactive like we used to do in the library, but I'll read the question and then let you know what the answer is. But we'll do some of this in the chat, which one you think is right. If it's a weird one that people don't agree on, we'll talk through it, why it's right, why it's wrong, why this is the right answer. And we'll make sure you get to have the correct answers before you submit your test to the IHSA. So again, print those test questions out, write down your answers, try to get a rules reference with it, and then it's a good study guide. And then we will. So then after next week, starting, we're going to skip a week, and then on the 23rd, we're going to start the virtual post game sessions. So just be open forum. You can talk about the goofy stuff that happened in your games that week, and or just sit down and BS about baseball. You have an open forum for that. We'll use the same link for all those sessions. I'm gonna keep them going as long as we can still keep getting a crowd there. Michael, they are the same. Everybody gets the same questions for the part 1 test from the IHSA, so we will go through them. They're all in the same order, so we will go through them in order. When you actually take the test, you only get 25 of those, or 30, 25, I think it's 25 of those questions out of the 50. But it all comes from a pool of 50 questions, so they'd be the exact same ones that you took go over there. All right, so unless you have any questions, that's it for tonight. Thanks for guys for coming out. We'll see you Saturday in Wheaton.
And hey, guys, don't forget the training coming up on March 12th. That's an opportunity that, you're going to have some veterans there. If you have any questions, or, you have any demonstrations on anything that you may have, that might be a good opportunity to bring some of that stuff up to where, again, you can just bring up scenarios and questions, and we can go ahead and